Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and today we are going to rate all of the titles that the WWE currently are running and like the championships, how like prestigious it feels right now. Not just a little bit maybe on the design, I guess, if you want to, if we have a little bit of a tiebreaker, but we're just gonna jump into it and we'll see how it goes. So first off, we have the World Tag Team Championships. These are the ones that are on Raw, currently held by the Judgment Day. Honestly, they have been piss poor since they were created. They just have not had that same feeling as the other tag team titles. These just are kind of constantly on people that don't really get the like they're just not really there to even defend it. Like it's just kind of pointless, especially with the Judgment Day having it. I feel like the majority of the time this has just been a terrible idea. I feel like they booked it with having the War Raiders probably were the best, but they didn't get to defend it on a week to week basis like the other titles. It just feels that these have lost all of their power, and I feel like they need to do something with it, and maybe they will, but at the moment they're D tier for me. Next up, we have the women tag team titles. I hate these designs because they just don't fit the current criteria of like everything else we're doing. But I do feel like the titles have been better with Charlotte and Alexa on there. They had Liv and Raquel, and then Bailey and Lyra for a second. Well, I guess it was Lyra and Becky. Like they've had a pretty decent lineage lately, and I do like what they've done with this division. Like it's not great. There's not a lot of tag teams, but they are defended semi regularly. I feel like we do need it more on the main roster, especially on SmackDown, with having that like SmackDown just has a bunch of times sometimes where they do nothing with anything and just have terrible feuds. This could be something that could really be a signature, kind of like the US Open Challenge that they're currently doing. So I'm gonna put it in C. I think it's still getting better, but I do feel like there's a lot of work to do. Then we have the men's NXT championship. It was Obafemi pretty much the entire year, and now Ricky Saints currently has it. I think it is the standard on NXT. The women's title is pretty high up there too, but I think the men's title has had a lot of people in it where they're going to be future generational talent that they have, and I think it's kind of been a measuring stone for a lot of talent. I think it's super prestigious to have this title, especially if you're a younger person going through the ranks, that you get that stop and get that ability to get this title. Because everybody who's had it is either on the main roster or doing other good stuff. Like even just starting with Seth Rollins being the first and going from there. It's insane. So I'll put this up in A. The women's title is currently pretty much on par with that. I do feel with Jace it's a little bit lower, but I feel like it's still pretty high up there. I'm going to put it up in B, which is crazy that two NXT titles are above two main roster titles, but that's just sometimes how it's booked. Then we got the women's intercontinental title. Like, I feel like when Lyra had this, especially towards the end of her losing this could have been an A or maybe even an S tier title because of just how well it was booked. But now it's kind of gotten stuck on Becky Lynch. Like, I liked Becky when she originally got it, but now she's kind of stuck into being part of the Vision and not really doing any feuds herself, but with only like side people. Even with Maxine Dupree, that depending on when this comes out, is probably after the Raw that she has that battle. It's like, why not make that a title match? That's kind of important. So I'd probably put it in B. I feel like there's still a lot of work to do with it. Then we have the Undisputed Championship, which is currently held by Cody Rhodes. It had John Cena have it, and then Cody Rhodes before that in the last basically 2 years' time. I felt like Cody's first run was okay. I feel like it was pretty solid. John Cena's run was okay, and now the current Cody Rhodes run has been pretty much nothing so far, but we didn't really think it was. He kind of won it at SummerSlam and then had to finish up filming, and he's only had the defense against Drew McIntyre, which wasn't anything special. So I think I'd put this in the B area. It's just it's important, it's great, but it's just not booked great. Next up is the men's Intercontinental Championship. with Dominic Mysterio in it, and even the previous people with like we've had Jey Uso, Braun Breaker, obviously Gunther before that. We've had so many different people have it, and it really does feel like that title that gets you to that next step. I do feel like Dom is probably destined to lose it pretty soon, but I do like it. We see it on TV quite a bit. We get defenses semi regularly. I think it's better booked than a lot of the titles. It's crazy to have the WWE title in B, I know, but if you really think about it, it's kind of like that. And then we got the men's North American title currently held by Ethan Page. I think he's done pretty solid with it. He's changed the backing to the Canadian flag. He's had some decent matches with it. I like it. I definitely like it more than some. I do think I'm gonna move the WWE Championship up a little bit and probably put the Intercontinental title, the men's one, up there because I feel like I'm going to put the North American title here in B, and I don't feel like it's quite on that same level. So I think this is kind of the better way of doing it. Um, but Ethan Page has done pretty good. Being a mid card title on a developmental to be in B slot, that's still pretty good. Then we have the women's title. Honestly, Soulwork has done really good with it, but now that she's defending the Speed Championship, it kind of feels like it's kind of taken away a little bit on this. So I'll put it in C. It still needs a little bit more time and needs more defenses for at least me. But hopefully we'll get more on track, especially if Soul loses that Speed Championship, just to get rid of it. Then we got the men's NXT Championship tag team titles. These were really good when Axiom and Nathan Frazier had it, but now it just kind of feels there. I do feel like the Hardys are going to win it on Tuesday, depending on when this comes out. I think they probably have won by now, but it's not been great. I think I'd put it slightly better than the rest of them. I think I'll move the women's tag team titles a little higher. I do think they're doing pretty good with it. Then we have the Women's Heavyweight Championship. Honestly, this has been a very well booked title. We've had a lot of great women that had it: Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Liv Morgan, and now Stephanie Vercour. Not to mention Naomi cashing in and winning on it, which was such a good moment. But just sadly that she got pregnant, which is look a good thing for her, but sad that we didn't get to see what was coming with that. So I'd put this up in A. I think it's pretty high up there, but it's not quite where I think it should be. And I think once we really get like the nitty gritty of Stephanie getting in there, I think it'll get better. Then we have the men's U.S. Title. Now, this title has been in disrepair for years, and putting it on Sami Zayn has not been a bad idea. I do like the U.S. Championship Open Challenge. It does give a lot of extra time to people that's new. It gives Sammy a bunch of defenses, and he gets plenty of screen time. So I like all that. I really wish they would do the same thing with the women, especially the U.S. title, but I don't think that's coming anytime soon. This is probably one of the most well booked titles. So I'm gonna put it up in A. Next up is the women's U.S. title. I love Julia to death. She is one of my favorite wrestlers altogether, but it's a travesty on this title run. It just is not working out. I'm putting it down in D. It's probably one of the worst book titles of all titles. Then we have the Women's WWE Championship owned by Tiffany Stratton, undefeated this year. They've booked her weird because she's had some good matches, some good stuff, but like it's not been a lot of different people. It's Nia Jax, Trish Stratus, Charlotte Flair, and Jade Cargill, and just kind of a rotation area of those. And obviously she'll get this match against Stephanie Vercour and probably win, but is it the call? I don't know. I don't really know on this one. I think I'd put it in B. It needs some better booking. It has a lot of potential though. Then we have the men's speed championship. We've never see this. This is on El Grande Americano. I don't think we'll ever see it again. It feels like I know they've been putting it down in NXT, but unless they just vacate it and give it to an NXT guy, I don't really see what's the point of this. Next up, we have the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Now, I feel like with them being on the wide sick, they kind of had not had as much like everybody going after it. but they were the top prize on SmackDown for the longest time. I feel like it was extremely booked well. They had a lot of different tag teams vying for it. You really felt that a tag team could win at any time, and I just liked it a lot. I think it's one of the best. Well, it's an S tier, so it is the best book title that the WWE currently has. Then we go to the heavyweight title, which was when Seth Rollins originally had this. This was the best title, like hands down. It was booked great. The stories were great. This last run for Seth Rollins hasn't been there yet. Obviously, doesn't really even have a title defense other than the one. What is it? Was it a DQ? I think, but just didn't work out for it. I do feel like there's a lot more that's coming with it, and I think it's gonna be better. But currently, it's not in a good spot. So I'm gonna put it down in C. I do want to put it down in D because it is still brand new, but coming from Jey Uso to Gunther, or it was Gunther to Jey Uso to was it Gunther again to CM Punk for a second. It's had a lot of title runs this year, but it just hasn't really been much of anything. The Women's Speed Championship just got defended on No Mercy. It's barely going to be other than just kind of seen. It's really not there. I'll put it down in D. It is better book than the men's, but not by much. And then last but certainly not least, that it's not even on here, but it is the Heritage Cup down in NXT. They didn't have a picture of it, I'm pretty sure, from all of these beautiful titles. They do not, because that's how bad this thing has been booked. You don't even see it anymore. You barely know that Stax has it. I'm just going to use this European title as it, as the worst book title of all time, and current right now is this Heritage Cup. Get rid of it. They have too many titles on NXT anyways. You can get rid of it and it won't really matter. It never made sense only to have a men's Heritage Cup anyways because they barely do anything with it. The rules are funky. Not a lot of people like it, and either turn it into a belt if you're going to keep it or do something else, but really no point at all to have it. So those are my ratings of titles. Tell me what you guys think. I feel like I've been a little harsh on a lot of these, but I feel like when it really comes down to booking, a lot of the titles have had a rough go of it this year compared to last year. I feel like last year was booked way better in a lot of ways, and a lot of the titles just felt prestigious to win. But now it just kind of feels like they're on heavy hitters just to be on heavy hitters. And I don't know if I like that as much. I feel like there's got to be a little bit of story on top of all this. So tell me what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.